And we're back with another episode of High Minded with McCarter. I'm your host, McCarter.
I'm her co-host, SK.
I was really excited to talk to one of my good friends, Danielle Gilliam. She is a cancer survivor, and she talks all about her journey with going through her diagnosis, her multiple surgeries, all the pain pills and prescriptions and opioids the doctors have been prescribing her, and how she's been using cannabis and other plant and natural medicine to wean off of those herself, and it's incredible.
Yeah, her journey from Maryland, where she's from and was diagnosed and went through her treatment and everything, and just the stark difference in pain management in Maryland versus coming to Colorado and getting a pain management doctor who appreciates cannabis and helped her wean off so drastically.
And is open to other plant and natural medicine besides pharmaceuticals, because we learned that there are so many doctors in the country that are not open at all to their patients using any other type of supplements, anything other than basically what they're prescribing.
Yeah, and even legal frameworks that make it impossible for people to use both.
We talk about a lot of really interesting things. It gets a little heavy in this episode, so definitely, trigger warning for cancer and surgeries and hospital, mental health, all the stuff.
Yeah,
opioids and how quickly it is you can get addicted.
Absolutely.
We hope you enjoy this episode today, and we hope you learn something and can share it with a friend or family member to hopefully open their mind about cannabis and other natural medicines. And thank you so much to Danielle. She is amazing. I love you so much. She's my girl. And shout out to our episode sponsor today. Our partners at Puff Creative are amazing. They are an incredible agency that helps us with our website, SEO, social media, content, all things. They help bring amazing people on my podcast, and they're just great people. I love them. If you need help with any of those things, check them out at puffcreative.com. That's PUFCREATIV. There's no E at the end. Or on Instagram, same handle. So thanks to Puff Creative. We love y'all.
And we recently uploaded our episodes to YouTube, so check us out on YouTube.
Woo!
And as always, download, subscribe, give us some feedback on any of
Give us 5-star ratings.
All the ratings, all the feedback. Bring it our way. Thank you so much. Follow us.
We love y'all.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and Instagram is at HighMindedPod. My Instagram is at McCarterGetsHigh.
Mine is at Her Highness SK.
There it is.
Be my 175th follower.
Woo woo!
Please, yes, no.
But we love the support. Thank y'all again. And as always,
stay high.
I am Danielle Gilliam. I'm 33 from Baltimore, Maryland. I got diagnosed with cancer on my 26th birthday. That's when I actually was diagnosed. But prior to that, I was living in Florida.
Okay, that's right.
So I was diagnosed in Baltimore, Maryland at Franklin Square. At Johns Hopkins.
Where you're from? You're from?
Yeah, I'm from Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So I was diagnosed at Johns Hopkins. But prior to that, I was living in Florida. It was a beautiful life there. It was really going well. And then it was kind of random. I went to the doctor one day just to get an anxiety medication refilled. And my friend was with me that day. My friend Andrea. I will never forget it because I was so mad at her at the time. She went into the doctor's office with me, and he was like, he refilled my anxiety medicine and, did my physical, whatever. And then he said, "Is anything else bothering you?" And I said, "No." And she said, "She's lying. She complains about back pain all the time." And I was mad because I had been in multiple car accidents prior to that, over the years. I had been rear-ended 3 times over the course of 3 years.
God damn.
Like, I had been hit head on, and not just in my own car, like with friends.
On.
Yeah, head on.
Oh my god.
Me and my friend were coming around a turn, and a lady ran a stop sign, and she panicked and like stopped and kind of cut into the lane. So we hit head on. So I had already been hit multiple times. I had
You've had some body trauma.
I had body trauma. I had back pain. They had never found anything. And it's like every time you go in for an MRI, right, it costs money. Like even if you have insurance, there's pretty hefty copay multiple times.
Sure.
Like if you're not a person that goes to the doctors often, at least. So
I should probably get a checkup.
I was pretty upset. So anyway, we get in the car and I'm like mad at her because he's now sending me for an MRI. And I'm like, why couldn't you just like, keep
your mouth shut.
Yeah, you
play the game.
You know that like I have had back pain. I told you like they've never found anything. She's like, well, you never know, Danielle. And I'm like, ugh. So I go to this MRI. They literally sent me for it like that day.
Right away.
Yeah. So I go over, we get the MRI. We both go back to work. She left work to come with me to this appointment.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, it was nice of her. And then I get all mad, right? But I'm just thinking $150 is what I had to pay.
I was going to say, it's usually a couple $100.
$150. So I just was like, not expecting that expense, whatever.
Right. I hear you.
I go do the MRI. I get back to work. I literally sit down at my desk. I pull up, my computer starts, and my phone rings, and it's the doctor. And he's like, we need you to go back. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, they think something's was wrong with the machine. So they saw it already, but they wanted to make sure
they wanted to double check.
They wanted to double check, and they also wanted to make sure that it wasn't something inside the machine that was like, or on the lens or something. So they put me in a different machine when I went back. And
makes sense.
I got back to work. I'm like, I'm really not thinking much of it because I've had these scans so many times. Mm-hmm. And I literally sit down at my desk again and my phone rings again. And I'm like, no way. And he's like, I need you to come to the office. Your scan came back abnormal. I was like, what?
Oh, my.
So I go tell my boss, I'm like, I gotta go. I go back. So then they send me for a PET scan, which I didn't know this prior to having cancer, but cancer is made of sugar, like it's sugar. So when they inject sugar water, for a PET scan, they inject sugar water basically into your vein. And then if you have cancer, they say like, quote unquote, it lights up like Christmas. That's literally what they say. Mm-hmm. So their mind didn't light up. But so for me, I left there and I called my dad. And me and my dad didn't have a great relationship growing up. But I will say when it came to our health or like our futures or anything, important like that, he like researches and like he does not settle for the first opinion. Like we will keep going to doctors, and if they keep saying the same thing, then okay. But if they're saying something different, and we'll see specialists. Like, so my cancer is very rare. Only one in a million people get it. Wow. It's called sacral Chordoma. It's super, super, super rare. So like you'll really never meet. It's really rare that you'd ever meet someone that actually has it. It's like that rare.
Wow.
It's like for a person like me that actually has it. But my dad, I call my dad, and he's like, I want you to send your images to Johns Hopkins. Overnight them. And he's like, I already talked to the head of whatever, like, send it here. Here's the address. This is the name. Overnight it. I want it there tomorrow. And I'm like, Dad, that's like $100. Like, I'm like just getting on my feet in Florida. Like, I just got a house, living on my own.
You just
like,
had to pay for an MRI.
I just had to pay for an MRI. I wasn't expecting
money coming from, Dad.
My asshole, literally. I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Whatever. It is what it is. So I send it overnight. It was like $95. That was what it cost me to send it overnight.
Wow.
So then I get a call from them, and they're like, well, they can't say that you don't have cancer just because they saw it on a scan.
Right. They have to like go in there.
and it didn't light up. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that doesn't mean anything. They have to do a biopsy. It could be a multitude of things. Yeah, because they were saying it was a cyst to leave it alone. That's
They
what
were just
Oh my
literally
God.
going to
Florida was like, it's a cyst. Leave it alone. It's good.
Oh my God.
wow.
Just don't bother it. And my dad was like, not okay with that. He was like, absolutely not. So they call me. They're like, they cannot establish this by a scan, like, and the fact that it
Sure.
didn't light up. So you need to fly here. So at this point now I'm out. I'm like, Dad, can you just fly me out?
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is about to get really expensive for me.
Yeah.
Like, for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah. So he flew me home, go to Johns Hopkins. Thank God, because my parents had to work. And I have really good friends. I've been blessed in my life. I know a lot of people do not have good friends, but I will say I have been blessed. I have family everywhere I go. It's crazy to me. But I get home. My parents had to work because this is very unexpected at this point, right? We're not expecting
Right.
like
Obviously.
anything. Like, at this point, we've already heard it's a cyst. Like, we're just making sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I get my friend Brandon to take me. And I've been friends with Brandon for a long time. And I will, like, forever... I just love him even more for this, like what he did for me that day. And I get
Yeah.
teary-eyed when I talk about it because it was just amazing. So he takes me there, and I told him, I was like, all you have to do is drop me off. They're going to take me back. They're going to put me out. I'm not nervous. Like, I'm good. Like, my parents will be there when I wake up. And I guess he just, like, knew they might not be. Like, they might work over,
Yeah.
that you might get out early,
Yeah.
which is what happened. I got out early.
Wow.
So he stayed. And like hours.
Wow.
Like, he just sat in the waiting room for hours. He had like better things to do. I told him to leave. He did not. So he stayed. The next thing I know, I wake up, they come back and they're like, well, first of all, you have 2 tumors, and Brandon's in the room with me at this point. Like, my parents are not there. So I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
He did not listen to me. So they come in and they're like, oh, well, we didn't really get to biopsy it, but you have 2 tumors. And the problem is we couldn't biopsy this one because your nerve is you have nerves completely wrapped around it.
Oh my God.
So if we hit one of your nerves, like...
Yeah, they don't know what would happen.
Yeah, like
Right.
a lot of things could happen. So they didn't want to do it. They were like, well, good news. I mean, you do have 2. The good news about that is that the second one isn't wrapped around anything. And I'm like, okay, so wait, you just had to like wake me up to tell me that.
Like, why didn't you take it out then?
So, well, biopsy it at that point. That's what they're doing is biopsy. So why couldn't you just go biopsy it?
Yeah.
Like the other one then? Why you have to wait? Now you have to put me back to sleep?
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
like Brandon's like, oh my God. So he had to take me home. So like my parents didn't even get there because it was like over and done with because they didn't do the biopsy.
Oh my God.
That day.
Stop.
So I had to come back the next day because I'm like, I'm only in town for like 3 days. Like, I live in Florida. Like, we have to do this.
Right.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Make me sign something that says if we find another, like,
Right.
can we buy up? Yes.
Yeah.
Do the thing.
Oh
yeah.
my God. So go back the next day, go through the whole thing again. They put me out. Poor Brandon stays another hours and hours. My parents do get there at this one, though, at the end, but he stayed anyway. Him and my parents are close now, obviously.
Wow.
But so they all stayed. I wake up to we were able to biopsy it. We'll let you know in a couple days. I'm like, okay, no biggie, right? We all leave. So they call us. They're like, we need you to come back in. This is like a couple days later because I'm like, we need to rush this.
Yeah.
I have to go home. Like, and if something's going on, like, we need to know so I can
Right. Like,
to make a decision. I need to make a
yeah.
decision.
And like tell your job and shit.
Everything.
Right.
My whole life is like
Still
literally
happening.
hanging in the balance in Florida. And I'm
Yeah.
in Maryland, like trying to figure out what is going on.
And now time for a quick commercial break. Major shout out today to our partners and lovely friends at Puff Creative Agency. They designed our amazing website. If you haven't already, please go check it out at unentitledpodcast.com. We have blogs. We have all of our episodes. We have a little about me. We love Puff Creative so much. They do such a great job, not just with our website, but also with SEO, helping us get amazing guests on the podcast and other things too, like events, social media, content. They really do so much. So please hit them up. Tell them McCarter sent you and stay high.
So we go back to the doctor like a couple of days later, and it was just me, my mom, and my dad. It was really weird. I will never forget it. And it was like eerie. And this is why I say like fuck Johns Hopkins at this point, because like their patient, like I don't know, like bedside manner could have been so much better for this experience. Oh my God, it was traumatizing almost.
Wow.
So I get there and the woman's like, I'm like, Danielle Gilliam, they're sign my name, whatever. They're like, the woman goes, oh, you must be a really important patient. And I said, why? And she goes, oh, because he blocked out the rest of the evening for you, or the afternoon for you. And I'm like, I looked at my mom and my dad, and I'm like, oh God, that's not good. Like, I already knew, like, well, I'm like, well, why would she say that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm already, like, a little bit optimistic at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, not a lot, because we're called back instead of them actually.
Like, it's fine.
Just telling you over the phone, like leave a voicemail.
Yeah, like, no, we're at the building, like, in the cancer center. No, we weren't in the cancer center, but we were in the building, and it was just, it was weird. And so
like
we get
a big surgery.
Yeah, it was just like a big center. So we get there, get taken in the back. The doctor comes in, and he literally like danced around my diagnosis. Literally, to the point where my mother was in complete denial that I had cancer for over a month because he would not just say it.
Whoa, what? So
I'm not even kidding.
was he like, the biopsy came back?
And he was like, yeah, it's sacral chordoma. And we're like, what is that? And he's like, my dad's like, is it malignant? Is it benign? And he like wouldn't really say and was just like talking about what sacral chordoma was. And we're like, well, what is that?
Yeah,
and
talking like layman's terms.
Yeah,
Like,
and like
Google it later,
we didn't go to
but-
medical school.
Well, and that's what my dad did the second we got out of that room. No, I think we were still in the room, and he was already looking it up. And he was like, well, it says here that it's cancer. That's what it was. And he was like, well, it's not that straightforward because it's like such a weird cancer, but it's like, it's cancer.
God. Yeah.
Like, it's all he had to say was, but no, it's, I mean, only 1 in a million people get it, and you would have had better luck playing the lottery than
What
to
the
get.
fuck?
I mean, like crazy. So
you kidding me?
Yeah, we leave there, and my mom's
Should
in denial.
sue these
Meanwhile,
fuckers.
I'm like trying to figure out. My dad's like researching different centers for sacral chordoma. My mom is in denial that I have it, telling my dad to like chill because it's not cancer.
Wow.
And I'm trying to fight insurance, get disability at this point because now I have to go through all this cancer stuff and I'm not going to be able to work. And I'm turning 26. I just turned 26. So my dad's,
Oh my God, yeah.
it was,
gosh, right.
I was on my own insurance. I had 2 insurances at that point. But my insurance was about to drop because I'm losing my job, right? So at least I have my dad's insurance. I mean, I could have kept that one too, but it would have done the same thing. I had to pay.
You only had one more year.
No, it turned at 26. It cuts off, but
You're right.
it turns to Cobra.
Okay.
So you have that option at least, but it's $800 a month.
Oh my
Oh my God.
No lie.
Whoa.
So I'm like, well, got to figure out how I'm going to pay this. Like
a whole
if I'm
month's
not
rent
working,
equivalent.
like, because if cancer treatment can be up to a year with surgery, like, and mine was longer than that. Wow. So I was just trying to figure out what I'm going to do financially. I had amazing friends. Like, they were filling up my gas tank because I flew back to Florida, packed up my car, and drove home. And then my friends had to send the rest of my stuff. And then a lot of other people just took a lot of my stuff because I have not found a lot of my shit to this day. So whatever, it is what it is. It was just clothes. But
Jesus.
So it was kind of like an overnight, had to figure out how the hell I was going to change everything, get all my stuff moved to Maryland.
Yeah.
And then my dad did all that research. And so the 3 places that specialized in my cancer, it wasn't even Johns Hopkins. So I was like, well, that sucks. So I'm not even going to be staying here. So we went to Houston. Me and my dad actually drove to Houston, Texas.
Wow.
And the crazy part about that story, I don't even think you know, is on the way there, me and my dad were alternating driving. And it was his turn to drive. I was sleeping in the back. And I started having a seizure, like really, really. And that's when I started having seizures then. It was really weird. Like after that, I had seizures.
But you
like from that day.
But you
and
hadn't
I had never
had seizures before.
Well, I had, but like at least from what my ex-girlfriend told me, like in my sleep I would have, but they were like small. Like this one, like my dad said I was foaming out of my mouth, like my eyes were rolling in the back of my head, like he thought I was dying. I woke up on the side of the road. We're at this like little shack, like because we were driving from Maryland
like on
to
the highway.
Houston. No, I don't know if he pulled off into like a little town, like and we're like close to Houston because it was literally like, I just remember because I was so confused. I woke up very confused. I was in the front seat. I was laying in the back when I went to sleep. Now I'm in the front.
What?
Why am I sitting up? I don't know what's going on. My dad's looking at me like panicked.
How much time had passed?
I don't know at this point. My dad, a while.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, like, I think he said it was the whole thing. I think he said lasted like 45 minutes to an hour of like, it was the first one I ever had.
Wow.
And and I've come to learn when I have them, I come to and it's crazy. I feel like I did drugs. Like, and I'm like scared. Like, what did I do? Did someone drug me? Did I do some kind of drug that I don't remember doing? I don't like, because that's what it feels like.
Like a roofie situation?
I can't get on my feet. Like I can't stand up. Like I try to stand up and my knees keep giving out.
Whoa.
And I just keep falling
and
on the ground. And I can't talk. And like, because like I had one after that because my mom had never seen me have one. And this is crazy because I'm so glad I discovered CBD after this because prior to this, I was not using it. They had me on they ended up putting me on Keppra, but it was not helping. And that's what they use for seizure patients is Keppra, is a medication.
Okay.
It's supposed to help stop your seizures. Well, it was not working for me.
Wow.
I came home one day, it's so crazy. It's like I have a guardian angel. I really do. I think I have a couple. I literally turned off my car and I had a seizure. Like I opened my door and I fell out of the door into the driveway.
Oh my God.
And literally had a seizure in the driveway. But when I came to, I didn't know what was going on. And the craziest part about this is the whole thing, first of all, that I had just turned off the car, right? And literally opened the door so I'm at least out of the car and visible in openness so people can at least see, right?
Yeah.
But then the fact that if you knew my parents' house, you'd understand, like, they have a really big house. And the front of it is, like, an older addition. Like, it was the first part of the house ever. And they've built on from that, right? So they're usually in the back part of the house.
Okay.
So they're not in the front. Like, the front, up until now it's being utilized. But at this time, no one was ever in the front. It's, like, 3 guest bedrooms in the front.
Okay.
Like, and everybody's on the other side, always. So, like, you don't typically hear someone if they're at the front door.
Okay.
Unless they're ringing the doorbell or, like, banging on the door. But for some reason, my mom was in the living room that day. And I stumbled to the door and she opened the door and I just remember falling in the door. And my mom immediately thought I was on drugs.
Whoa.
Because, like, what else? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and she had never seen me have a seizure. It's not even where her mind went.
Wow.
The other seizure had happened a while prior to that. My dad really didn't talk about it because he was traumatized.
So this was the second one.
This is the second one.
Okay, wow.
So my dad didn't talk about it much because he's traumatized by it, right? So he didn't really talk to my mom about it. So she didn't know, which he probably should have, in hindsight, looking back.
Yeah.
This is what happens to Danielle if she had, he's like thinking maybe it's a one-time thing, whatever. So I stumble in the door. I cannot get on my feet. I just remember stumbling across the entire living room. And I'm thinking, did I do drugs? I don't know. Because when I come to from a seizure, I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I almost forget what happened half of that day for that span of time, for at least a good almost half an hour. I'm very confused. So I'm stumbling around. My mom's like freaking out on me. She's like yelling at me. She doesn't know what's going on. I mean, I kind of don't blame her at the time. I was kind of crazy then. So, I come home. I'm stumbling in the door. She doesn't know what's going on. She calls my dad. Thank God. She's like threatening to call the police on me at this time. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, because I literally, I think she was just trying to scare me, like, into like talking to her, but I couldn't. She was trying to get me to talk, and that's why she was saying that, because I couldn't talk. I wouldn't answer her, but it was because I couldn't answer her. Like, I literally couldn't. So she calls my dad, and I hear him on the phone, and he's like, Nick, she just had a seizure. And my mom just drops the phone, and then she like picks me up, and she's like consoling me, and like, I'm so sorry. Like, yeah. So like, they get intense, but I haven't had any since I started CBD, which is like a fun fact.
Wait, so how did you find CBD?
I started researching after that. Well, no, I ended up moving here. So I'll make a long story short. I'll go back to Boston. I moved to Boston because I ended up having my cancer treatment in Boston. That was one of the places.
Not Houston?
No. We went there for an opinion. We get there after the seizure. They did like a brain scan on me. They couldn't figure out what was going on. They knew about the the spot. They knew the sacral chordoma. It was kind of too far for me. Like, and I knew that I had a closer option. Once, like at the time, I was highly considering it. We went there, we met all the doctors. They were amazing, like top of the line care. MD Anderson is where we went. Great people, but they didn't really have the programs either that I was going to be able to utilize in Boston once I figured that out. Okay. So we went from Houston to literally Boston. And got us another second opinion. And that's where I decided to go. Okay. So my seizure started on the way to Houston, but then I decided to go with my cancer treatment in Boston, basically, is how that goes.
Got it.
Where did you go in Boston?
Mass General.
Okay.
They actually have a Chordoma unit.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought was really, really beneficial.
Promising.
Yes, and promising. And there were a lot of people there that were going there for Chordoma treatment, and there's a thing called the Chordoma Foundation, and like a lot of those doctors were recognized as like really good Chordoma doctors that have been working on many, 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 many Chordoma patients before me. Okay. Like, whereas at Johns Hopkins, I was going to be the first.
Okay.
Literally.
Chordoma is cancer on the spinal cord.
Yeah, it's like really complicated, but yes, that Williams turns, and it can form anywhere from your sacrum, where I had it, to your brainstem.
Okay.
I had mine in my sacrum, so mine was in my S3 and my S5.
Okay.
So,
so did they end up removing them in Boston?
Yes. Yes. So first I had to go through chemo, radiation, which is like,
wow.
The chemo and the radiation is actually more experimental than anything for the type of cancer that I have, because it's more of a like, it might help. We hope it helps. Like,
kind of first round.
Yeah. Like, well, because so my cancer is unaffected by chemo radiation. Wow. Like, if you do research, you'll see. It says not affected by chemo and radiation. It says it right there, but they do it anyway to like, wow, which is kind of like, because I mean, like, it did nothing into the tumor, and all it did was brittle my bones and, like,
Oh my God.
complicate
serious
literally
side
every other
effects.
aspect part of my life, and did nothing to the tumor. But, you know, it is what it is at this point. We didn't really know. So, I had to go through.
Did the most.
Oh, yeah. I went through proton beam radiation and chemo for, it started November to February. And then I had a break. And then it was like a month break. And then it was like actually the very end of January. No, it was like February 1st because we had a couple days off that I had to make up. So my surgery ended up being on the 24th.
Okay.
My life-changing surgery.
Oh,
so
okay.
prior to the surgery, they had told me when we put you under, like, you wake up, you should be able to feel your legs. Like, we shouldn't, because remember, at this point, when they had the biopsy done, they said the nerves were completely wrapped around the one tumor, right? So now we know it's cancer. And how are we going to pull it out without damaging any of these nerves? Well, they said they could do it after they had already prepared me, mind you. So first they prepared me for it. Then they came back on that and said, actually, you know, we've talked to a lot of people. We think we can actually get it out without damaging any of your nerves. Like, so I'm going into it being more optimistic than I was before. To wake up to my mother crying at the foot of my bed and my dad not wanting to look me in the eye.
Oh my God.
And I can't feel my legs.
Oh my God.
So I'm like panicking. My mom doesn't want to tell me what happened. So my dad does because, I mean, he sees that I'm like, what the hell? So they ended up having to cut my S3 nerve root, which like gave me a lot of permanent damage. So after that, it was in a lot of pain. They could not get my pain under control. Like, it was awful, to the point where my dad begged them to knock me out. They had to knock me out with ketamine.
Wow.
Not like a horse tranquilizer or something.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
people are doing like.
Well, yeah,
therapies
no.
with it, you know?
But I mean, in a high dose. I'm not talking about a
yes.
microdose. I'm talking about like
Very high.
a
they
K-hole
knocked
kind
me out because
Wow.
nothing else was working.
Oh my God.
They had to use that on me.
Do you remember it?
I remember being in a lot of pain, and I begged the nurse to kill me. I remember that. I remember that clear as day. I tell people all the time, like, I'm so glad I don't have one of them homicidal nurses, because I'm like, I watch true crime a lot.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm so glad I never had one of those homicidal nurses, because like I gave her full like authority to do so. I was like, please, I told her, I said, put air in my IV, please. Just kill me. Kill me. I was begging her. I was in so much pain. It literally, the only way I can explain it is it felt like a train hit me in the arch of my back.
Oh my God.
Like right at the arch of your back. I don't even know. Maybe a car too, like going really, really, really fast. But I equated that to a train at the time because that is how much pain I was in.
That's how much pain you were in after the surgery?
Yes, like
For how long?
a while. They had a really hard time controlling my pain with opiates. The opiates got so high that by the time after surgery, physical therapy, which lasted a year of me learning how to walk, I could not walk for a year, pretty much. It was like right under a year, like 10 and a half, 11 months is how long it took me to walk. My legs were like jello, and I had something called drop foot. So every time that I would try to walk, my foot would drop. And what happens is when they work on your spinal cord, like anywhere on your spinal cord, your nerves up and down your spinal cord can go to sleep. So they can wake up whenever they want.
I've heard this. They just kind of come back whenever they want.
Yes.
But it's kind of at their own pace.
Yeah, literally. It can be a day. It can be a week. It can be a month. It can be a year. It can be 3 years. It's crazy.
How long did it take for your foot to come back?
Like that whole time. So 11 and a half months about.
Wow.
And even after that, I was still using a cane and like walkers when I went home. Like I went home like semi-walking, but I wasn't like I am now, like walking.
Wait, sorry. Were you using any cannabis at this point?
No.
Okay.
That was my question too. At what point
No.
did cannabis come in?
So after all these surgeries, I was on, oh my God, I was on 80 milligram Oxycontin 3 times a day.
Oh my God.
On top of 30 milligram oxycodone, 2 of those every 4 hours. And then fentanyl lollipops they were giving me, which were 1,500 mcgs. Not like 50 mcgs, not like, 100, no, like 1,500 mcgs. And those were for physical therapy, they said. So like, but my pain was like still not under control. And at this point, I don't understand that the more opiates that you're put on doesn't really help the situation, right? It just like kind of makes it worse. And now you have like all these other problems. Yeah. So I started doing really bad. Like my mental health was tanking. Like I had to have multiple other surgeries. Like I just was not doing well. So Amy, actually, who I'm friends with, who lives in Colorado, she founded Joy Gum. And she had moved me down. She asked me if I wanted to move down here. She was like, I think you would really benefit. Yes. She was like, I think you would really benefit from like moving to Colorado and like having the option of cannabis, because in Maryland, like once I was living, had to live in my parents for a while, obviously. Yeah. So I had my medical card there, but the doctors are like, you have to choose one or the other. You can't use one to get off the other. You have to just pick one. Like right then and there, if you test for cannabis, they stop writing your script. Well, I mean, like I'm a cancer patient.
That's
I'm like
insane.
Literally, I have to have it. Like I can't not
and
right
on such
now.
a high dose.
Yeah,
it's like, how are
you can't just
supposed
stop
to
it like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's dangerous.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So she was like, I just feel like doctors are be more apt to like work with you here. Like if you just come out here and like just give it a try. So at first I like didn't want to. I was like, I don't know if I can do that, like be away from my family. And then I don't know, one day it literally just clicked to me like, if I don't go, I'm going to die. I was like 84 pounds, and this is no lie. I was 84 pounds. I was like skin and bones. I could not eat. I had a tube. I had like a feeding tube. It was getting really bad. My mental health was like, I was waking up every day telling my mom I wanted to die, basically. And I look back and I always apologize to my mom. Like, I'm so sorry I put you through that. But like, I mean, you're at a point you can't, you're barely walking now because you're like 87 pounds or 84 pounds at this point. I got up to 87 when I moved here, like within the first week. That's why I said 87.
Wow.
Like within a week, I was already gaining weight.
Mental health change.
So I came out and I visited her for 3 weeks. And I was like, because I knew like 1 week, it's like a vacation, right?
Yeah.
Like you kind of like, it's fun. 2 weeks, okay.
It's
like
starting to set in.
Yeah. 3 weeks, like you're kind of ready to go home. Like if you're not comfortable at someone's house, right? It's like, and I'm going to be moving in with her. So I was so comfortable. I was like, you know what? I just have to do it. Like I have to. So I found a doctor, a pain management doctor. I found him that week, talked to him. He was like, I will work with you. You can smoke cannabis. You can,
that's amazing.
You can do whatever. We will get you down on your meds. Like, this is crazy. Like, So I was like, all right, I have a doctor that's going to work with me.
Yeah.
Like I have cannabis at my disposal everywhere I go. I don't even need my card, like if I don't want it, but I ended up getting my medical card. I went back home. I literally packed up my stuff, and within, I think it was less than a month, I moved here right before 420.
Wow.
It was like, I think it was the 15th that we got here. Me and my friend drove with me. Me and her just alternated, and we drove the whole way. Like, we just stopped to go to the bathroom. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah. And until we got to Kansas, and then they shut down 70, which that's when I learned about that. Yeah.
Snow.
Yeah. Snowstorm. And I was like, okay, so that's what that's like.
Welcome to the West.
Yeah. When you moved out here, were you like trying everything, like smoking, edibles?
Well, so no,
tinctures?
wait. When I was in Maryland, all they were really taught me was RSO, and like then I was just buying weed, right?
Okay,
like they didn't
smoking
really
flower.
Yeah, they didn't really teach me about anything else.
Okay.
Like it wasn't really
All these different delivery methods.
Yeah, no. So then I get here, and then like Amy specifically was like, I really think you need to get like on a CBD oil, like,
Yes.
you know, that I think that would really help your seizures, like, and that's one of the first things that I did.
Yeah. So that's
and they stopped.
Sublingual tincture
Yeah.
under the tongue. Mm-hmm. Wait, but how
So-
much CBD were you taking like per day at that point?
Well, I started at a low dose because I wasn't really sure, right?
Okay.
But I got up to, I can't remember exactly what dose I was at that point because now I just take high CBD.
Wow.
Like I do the Iovia ones that are high CBD
Nice.
with like, they have like a little bit of THC in them.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
like that.
But your seizures are like, have stopped.
Yeah. So I was getting them,
That's insane.
I started getting them often after all this had happened back
How
home.
often?
God, every couple months
Okay.
at least. And there were some times where I would wake up in the house very confused, you know, put two
Yeah.
and two, and then you like, I know I had one
Right.
when no one was around. So the only time I've had one here, I had one once. And I was walking up the stairs. Nobody was home. And it's crazy because we have a rescue dog. Her name's Maya. And she was really timid at this time. Like a very timid dog, was still not very sure of me. Like had been abused in her past life for sure. So I fell down the stairs, the second set of stairs. Well, the first set of stairs in our other house.
Oh, yeah.
When you're going up, I fell down those stairs and I landed on the floor. But there was like a rug behind my head, thank God, because my head was hitting the floor. But Maya came over and sat her head on me, and Hope laid on my chest.
Wow.
So they were like laying on me when I came to, like putting pressure on me, trying. I was like, wow. I mean, like Hope knows.
So intuitive.
But Maya, that shocked me with Maya. I was like, wow, okay, maybe she's not so bad, you know?
Wow.
She's a little intuitive.
Wait,
so,
why does pressure help?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
It's like Reiki. Like
It's
energy.
something with the
Yeah.
energy in your body.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like, you'll see a lot of people that have like seizure disorders that have dogs like I do, like a service dog.
Yeah.
But theirs are bigger and will actually utilize pressure. Like I don't have them anymore. Like I don't really even have to utilize Hope. Like, which I mean, I'm kind of upset. I've kind of slacked on her training a little bit with that because I wanted my independence back so bad. Like when I moved here, I still wasn't even walking 100%. I like stayed in my room for months until I started meeting people in the cannabis industry here who were like really awesome, down to earth, cool people who like have like become literally my family. And I was like really shown by all these people how cannabis worked. And I learned more about like terpenes and like, it's not about percentages and like I wasn't taught any of that in Maryland, you know, like I learned all of that here from people that just were educated. Like my friend Kim is very educated in the cannabis industry. She like taught me a lot about terpenes and which terpenes were good for, you know, nausea and like, you know, there's certain strains that are better than others for certain ailments. So then once I started learning all that, I feel like I was able to really control like things better, like with my pain, with my nausea. Like I've noticed specifically, honestly, our 10-to-1 CBD, THC peppermint joy gum.
Yes, I love that.
Is amazing for
so
nausea.
good.
Amazing. Like
I like
I'm
it
really
for
sad
anxiety.
that I heard that they might be getting rid of it because people haven't been buying it. But like,
I'm gonna try to help change
I'm
that.
telling you, I swear by it. I always have a pack on me, and I'm actually kind of panicked because I just took my last 2 pieces yesterday, and I need to go get another bag of it.
Wait, I have some in my room. Do you want me to get it?
No, I'm okay right now.
Okay.
But I
love it
like
too.
to always have a pack on
I
me
keep
because
it in my
I literally
purse.
I put it in my mouth, and within like 5 minutes, my stomach's already feeling better.
Wow, that's the power of this plant medicine.
Yeah. So how has your medication changed since
whew.
moving to Colorado?
Yeah.
So man, my poor pain management doctor, I think he was like absolutely terrified because he had to write me these milligrams. And he's like, I can't even believe that doctors were writing you this. And I was like, that's what they do on the East Coast, I guess. Like, I didn't realize it was so different out here, but he was like terrified.
Wow. That's in 2019. That's wild.
Wow.
I was on a lot of stuff. So he's like, we need to just start cutting you back immediately. He's like, well, and then I was very fortunate. I met Anna Dama at an event. She does crafted care. She like makes her own CBD salves and like bath bombs and lotions. And
I've met her too. She's really nice.
she's amazing. I wasn't a huge believer at the time that like a salve was going to help me. Like I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to rub a salve or a lotion on my back that doesn't have like any kind of medication in it. That's just CBD or THC. You know, I'm not very educated. I just moved here, literally. I'm just thinking it's not going to work because my pain.
Cannabis is medicine, man.
I know, but you got to understand, I had literally just moved here. I don't know much about it at this point.
For sure.
Like, I had literally just moved here.
Coming from total Western
yes,
medicine.
after they're telling me, like, I don't know, I'm just smoking weed at this point. I don't know. The fact that a lotion could take the amount of pain that I had in my back away, I had a hard time believing it.
Wow.
But she was like, she rubbed it all over my back, and I think it was like 500 THC, 500 CBD.
Nice.
And within like minutes, I started feeling better. And I was like, I turned around and I looked at her and I said, give me that. And she was like, is it helping? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I was so blown away by that, that like I always have her salve with me
Wow.
too.
Aww.
I mean, I recently, you got me some of the escape artists. That's really been helpful as well.
There's some good stuff.
The rose one smells amazing.
Yeah.
I like their minty, like mentholy one.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
But
that it's helping.
that helped. Once I started using that, I was able to cut down a lot. Like it was a lot easier for me to cut down on my meds too. And then like
opioids.
Yeah, and then once, because he was right, we were working immediately to get me down. So like every 2 weeks I was going and we were going down more and more and more.
That's great.
And then I was noticing that they were actually starting to work better. Like they weren't working for me because they kept giving me more, but it's like something with your pain receptors
You're
or like
tapped out.
Yeah, like you can't just keep taking more and like it doesn't go. It doesn't get better. I mean, tolerance just gets higher and higher and the problem gets worse and worse and it's not working, right? And now you're taking all of this medicine for what?
Yeah.
So, I started smoking. I learned about dabbing. I learned that dabbing would be better for me because I had a higher tolerance already.
Yep.
To a lot of things, and my pain was hardcore, but that I shouldn't dab all the time because then I can get a tolerance for that as well.
Yeah.
So I was taught a lot of these things by amazing people. I was very fortunate because I really didn't know. So I was like, well, damn, like now I have this salve that like I didn't think would work that's helping me. And like the CBD is like stop my seizures. And like, it started helping me
incredible.
a lot. Yeah. So I'm on like a very minimal amount of meds now. And I'm working to completely, hopefully, get off of that. I mean, I still have a lot of broken hardware in my back, but I'm only on 5 milligrams now. So that's kind of insane.
Incredible.
It's kind of insane.
You are a fucking warrior.
Yeah, that's after watching Dope Sick. Like, that's wow.
Just like in seeing like what the opioid epidemic has done to the country and gotten people addicted to other drugs.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, when I was 16 and I had endometriosis really bad. And they were just shoving me on opioids. I was taking Percocet at 16 years old.
Wow.
For endometriosis. When they could have just done a surgery.
Yeah, and now it's like we know so much more about endometriosis too. Before it's like they didn't even want to like research the female body more and devote more, like.
Yeah, no, they actually finally let me get a hysterectomy when I was 24. I had a full hysterectomy because my endometriosis was so bad. But the doctors in Maryland, they're just lazy. they'd rather, I mean, I don't even know it's just Maryland, but I'm just saying specifically from my experience, that they were just more apt to want to write me a prescription for Percocet.
Take the easy way out.
Yeah. And I mean, Baltimore is not the best place to grow up, and be honest. You know, I think a lot of people know that. And bad influences, they find out that you have this Percocet and then you didn't even realize that it was something that could be abused, and now all your friends like want your medicine, and you're like, what? And it's like,
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
it's a whole thing. But it's like it gets out of control in Baltimore, and the doctors are just write it. They just write it. They actually did an FBI investigation on my old pain management doctor that was writing me all of that stuff.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because the FBI came to my best friend's house because I was house sitting at the time. And my dad called me. He's like, why is the FBI at our house? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I'm like freaking out. Like, what did I do? But they came to talk to me about him.
When you were still in Maryland? Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Stop. That's insane.
Yeah, they just...
Wow.
It's crazy.
Pain management definitely seems like it's handled differently state to state.
Yeah.
It really is. I can say that for sure. I've been very grateful for my pain management doctor here, like that he's been so willing to work with me, because I know that there are still some doctors here that you can't use both.
Wow.
Because I called around, and there are some doctors that will not let you do both. They can. I don't know why. I don't get it, but he was thankfully the first person that I like found, went and saw, and like he was really cool with it. And he was like, he kind of told me like, I think you need to explore the cannabis market a little bit. But I was already working in the cannabis field. I just hadn't had my badge yet. So it took like a little bit for me to like really start learning like everything from people, mostly at events, and like all my friends now.
Yeah.
Like Carrie Carmona. I learned a lot from her.
Yes.
Amazing.
We love you, Carrie. I need to have her on here.
She is an amazing person.
She moved to Smokelahoma.
Very educated in the cannabis industry. I got met a lot of people through her too.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Really good people.
So is the...
And that was 3 years ago. You've been here for 3 years now.
I'm glad I met you guys now too.
So glad we met and
What were you
that
about to
we're
say?
friends.
I was just going to say, what other plant medicines have played a role in your
Psilocybin?
journey?
Can we talk about psilocybin?
Yeah. So recently, I guess within the last couple months, I've been more intrigued about that because I don't know. I heard a lot about microdosing. I've never been one to like want to trip all the time or anything, but I didn't realize that if you took like a really small amount, that it's not really like tripping. You just feel really good and like happy, and it's like
mood elevation.
so great. So
increased focus, increased creativity.
While
It's
doing
so
the
funny.
large macro thing of rewiring your whole brain.
Yes.
So one thing that I learned when I was going through all of this cancer stuff was when they had initially done my, like when I started having those seizures, right, on the way to Houston, they did that brain scan. That was at the very beginning of my diagnosis. So, right, I had been living a pretty regular life at that point. So they did another brain scan on me a couple years later. And this is, at this point, I'm depressed, right? I'm on all this opiates. I'm like...
This is in Maryland.
This is in Maryland. I'm like really suicidal, just going through it. Just a couple years later. And I will never forget this. My doctor brought both of my scans in because I just think this is just so crazy. He put them up on the screen and he said, if I didn't know that both of these brains were yours, I would say that these are two completely different people. Wow. He said, this looks like a healthy 25-year-old brain. This one looks like a Vietnam veteran, like with severe trauma and PTSD. Because like you can see it in like the frontal lobe or whatever it is. Like, so that is also when I learned that your brain can change, right? Yeah. So I'm like, well, I probably don't need all of these medications, like, because I don't know, the depression medications were not working for me. They actually made me black out for 4 days, and that's a whole nother story.
Oh my
like,
God.
I blacked out literally and tried to kill myself in a 4-day span. It's crazy.
Whoa.
So I didn't want to get back on those, but I need something, right, to kind of help me with my depression from time to time.
Yeah.
So that's when I started learning about the psilocybin here after all of this craziness.
In Colorado.
Yeah, in Colorado. And I'm like, wow, like I wish I had known that was an option,
Yeah.
right? So the first time that I ever microdosed, I went out and mowed the lawn. And I was like happy as shit.
I love doing that kind of stuff, microdosing.
I was happy as shit. Like Amy's standing at the doorway and she's just looking at me. And I'm like, hey, Amy. And I'm like laughing. And like everything was like funny. And like it was like a great day.
Yeah.
And she's like, did you microdose today finally? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I love it. I was like, me too.
Yes.
So
This makes me so
after that,
happy.
I've been trying to learn more about it. I actually had McCarter. She let me borrow a book that I've been reading on and off.
Great book. Wait, what is
Yes.
it? Your Psilocybin Companion by Michelle Janikin, I think it is.
Yeah. So I've been reading and like learning that how it works with the brain and like rewiring and like, I don't know. I think I might even try to use those to just come off the meds completely.
Yeah.
And see if I even have any type of withdrawal with that at all
Yeah.
from medicine that I've been on for now a couple years because of all this crap.
Do you have a
It's so
timeline?
minimal though that I don't even know
Yeah.
if it's gonna bother me if I try to stop. I think in the
I
back
think
of my brain, I'm
There's
just
always
like,
withdrawal from like
Yeah,
most
terrified.
depression,
Yeah.
anxiety medicines. There's usually a withdrawal. So
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely taper off, you know,
oh, I mean, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Do you
That's-
have like a
he's
timeline?
been great.
Do you have like a
That you're
date
trying
in
to
mind?
hit?
Well,
Like,
I think I'm starting to think about that because I honestly in my brain didn't think that we'd ever get this low.
yeah.
I was pretty adamant that I thought that I needed more pain medication because I had a high tolerance because of all the meds that I was on. I mean, look at all I was taking. I was still alive.
yeah.
I'm like,
I can't
you
believe-
know,
I can't
how am
believe
I
your
not
body
dead?
was like handling
First
that.
of all.
Literally.
My God.
You do have guardian fucking angels.
I'm serious. It's crazy to me that my like heart didn't give out or something. My God.
Yeah. Well, now we need to like repair it with the mushrooms.
Well, yeah, that's what I've been
Yes.
trying all these alternatives and they've been working amazing. And like
Yes.
my pain management doctor has been pretty shocked at how low we've been able to get. I mean, it has taken time. It's taken time.
This is over
I mean,
like years.
yeah, I was on a lot of crap and I was really scared too. Like, I mean, you got to think like I have all this broken hardware. Like,
Yeah.
well, you don't know that, but I have broken hardware in my back. But it's not really, it's crazy. It hasn't really been bothering me since I moved here because I've been able to be more active because I've been able to do small hikes and like, we just got an electric bike.
was
So
just
I'm
gonna
able to
say,
bike with like the
yeah.
bike assist.
Yeah.
And like, there's
That's
tons of bike
amazing.
paths and like,
Oh,
they
yeah.
love bikers here. Like, you know, like you can't bike in Baltimore. Like, you're crazy. You get hit by cars and like left in the middle of the road.
Stabbed in the park. No, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
no, seriously.
Well, like, I mean, that still kind of happens in Denver. You got to be careful.
yeah.
Bikers are still getting hit and dying, but not as often.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Up canyons and stuff.
No,
too,
I
for
gotta-
sure, but
yeah.
But that's why the bike
There's lots of
paths
trails.
and trails are crucial. Yeah.
We have
like,
a really great system out here.
as long as people like, I just don't like the people that use like the roads when it's like a 2-lane highway and then there's a biker too. And it's like,
It's usually like go to the next block and there's a bike path.
Yeah.
Just like know the
I don't-
infrastructure,
I
or at
don't
least like
get
look around
that
a little bit. If you
part.
don't see a bike path and you're in Colorado, go a block in either direction and you'll find one.
Exactly.
Just like there's
That's
no
why I'm
reason
like-
to get in
So
traffic.
it was pretty awesome because I'll also say this, I took off 2 years for like my mental health from the doctors. So I was kind of,
good.
I needed to, but I was kind of concerned when I had to go back. Like,
Oh, yeah.
shit. So when I finally went back, they were very shocked because my strength had actually improved and I was doing like a lot better. So
That's amazing.
yeah, things are doing a lot better. Cannabis has very much improved my life from all of this. And yeah,
I love you so much.
love you too.
Yeah.
Wait,
Love you.
one question we ask everyone: if you if you could smoke cannabis with anyone, alive or dead, or like celebrity, but it can't be a family member
Even fictional.
or a fictional character, who would it be, and how would you smoke? Do you have like an idol or like someone you really look up to? Or it could just be like an artist, like a musical. I don't know, anyone, you know.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not really a
You're not
huge
into
like celebrity person. I never have been. I met Jake
I love
Gyllenhaal
that
and I
about you.
talked to him for an hour. Like it was
Really?
normal. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
He
I do love that.
he came to Spalding, the hospital where I was at. He was shooting a movie there.
Really?
Yeah, if you ever watch the movie, oh my god, I'm gonna draw a blank on what it's called now. But he does a movie where he plays the guy that was blown up in the Boston bombing. He lost his legs. He was there to see his girlfriend run the race.
I've
Okay.
seen a commercial for this.
He was in Spalding,
Okay.
where I was, because it's like the best.
Wow.
It's the best rehabilitation hospital you can go to in Boston.
Okay.
And I met him there. He was while he was shooting the movie. It was crazy.
Wow.
I was in my wheelchair, and my friend Monica was pushing me through the hallway, and I was telling her to push me to the side because we were trying to watch them film. And he
Yeah.
came through the doors at the same time, and he like locked eyes with me and followed me, and he sat right next to me on the bench, and we just sat there and talked.
Wow.
Like it was normal.
Wow.
Like I didn't like freak out. I don't like get
Yeah.
excited. So maybe with Jake Gyllenhaal, honestly, because
You've already
The only
had-
thing that would have enhanced would have
well,
be a
I
joint.
know he was a really awesome person,
Really?
and like really down to earth to talk to. Yeah, he was wearing a beaded bracelet, like it was like a string, and it had little tiny beads on it. And I asked him what it was, and he said a little 7-year-old girl gave it to him, and he wanted to surprise her and wear it in the movie because she watches all of his movies.
Oh my
That's so
gosh.
sweet.
Wow.
So just a wholesome human
Wow.
from like the things that he told me.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just want to smoke with him and talk more.
That's a
honestly.
really cool story.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that. I
for
love
all
you
this.
so much.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
Love you too.
I know you.
Thank you. I'm glad I know you too.
Thanks for sharing your story.
Of course.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Stay high.